As mentioned, we're asking a panel of experts what can be done to protect our children from horrendous acts like this. For this discussion, we're joined by the Teddy Bear Children's Clinic Director, Dr. Shaheda Omar, and Sibusiso Kasa, who's with Save the Children South Africa. Thank you so much for coming in this morning. This story has really sent shockwaves through South Africa. Dr. Omar, you deal, unfortunately, the work that you do, you deal with children who are victims of abuse and rape. This particular one, it happening in a public space with other adults and parents around, must have been particularly shocking, though.
Indeed, it's always shocking to see a child being violated, a child that is powerless, helpless, hopeless, and who cannot protect himself or herself in this situation, as we know that it is an implicit belief that adults are there to protect children, to ensure their safety. And this is a gross violation because a child once again has been a victim of sexual abuse.
Now, news of this story travelled very, very quickly. Of course, we live in a fast-paced news world, and social media allows these stories to come to people's attention very quickly. People very quickly deciding that they needed to blame somebody, and the parents coming in for quite a bit of criticism. What do you make of that?
Unfortunately, I think people are acting in an emotive mode. It's emotionally charged. It's a normal response to an abnormal situation. In this setting, one can understand and appreciate that a family went out to relax, they went out to enjoy, to have a meal, and there was a safe space created for children to play. So I think it would be an unfair accusation directed at the parents. However, one needs to alert parents not to get into such a relaxed mode where they actually lose sight of where their child is, who their child is with, what their child is doing. I think that is the reality. I got a call yesterday from somebody I know very closely who was in Sandton City and had her child next to her. She was looking into the windows and her child was being tugged and pulled by somebody else, a well-dressed woman who actually said to her, "Come, come now." And this child froze, the mother froze. And in a split second, they both ran into the next store and the mother phoned the father. But I'm trying to alert parents, this is the horrible reality we are facing with. So blaming parents, no, but responsibility lies on every level. There are rights, the rights for children to be protected, and responsibilities by caregivers and everybody else, every member of society, to ensure the safety and protection of each and every child.
Sibusiso, you're with Save the Children. This story must have really rocked your organization as well. The violent nature of what we believe happened at that restaurant particularly.
Yep, indeed, yeah, we were shocked, appalled in terms of what we've seen, but at the same time, if you look at the society in general, you've seen that actually these things, they happen quite a number of times. If you look at the crime stats that were issued by the Police Minister Peggy Cele, you look at, let's take for instance, if you look at murder, it rose by about 17% or just over 17%. You look at attempted murder, about 13%. And then if you look at sexual violence, which is the case in this particular case, it showed a slight drop. But however, we know that even though these stats sort of try to provide a picture, they do not paint the whole picture of what's happening. Some of these cases, they go unreported, for instance. Absolutely. You look at, we don't know the background of the suspect in this particular case, right? But now, if you can just imagine that if he was able to do something like this in public, what else has he done before with when there's no one around and stuff? We can never know. I will wait for as in court proceedings to perhaps sort of paint a picture of what really happened and stuff, yes.
I think that was the thing that was quite horrendous about this entire story, is that the pictures then that were circulated of the restaurant, and it just looked like any family restaurant that we would go to, and the picture of the play area where the innocence of a child should be allowed to express itself while the parents are, you feel like that should be a safe space. And if the question is, if that isn't safe, where in South Africa is it safe for our children?
Okay, now you see, when it comes to that particular issue of the restaurant having a safe space for a child, right? You can assume that, for instance, the parent had other options to say, I want to go to this particular venue on this particular weekend, right? But then thought, okay, who will take care of my child? Oh, let me go for a restaurant that have some safe space for a child, right? You go there with the perception that, yes, your child will be safe, obviously, right? So then by the time you get there, now there are two things that we should look at when it comes to the part of the restaurant. One of the pieces, as in the stories that were done by one of the ENCA reporters, highlighted one important part. In terms of the rules of that particular restaurant, they indicated that the child should be accompanied by the childminder to go to the toilet or wherever the child is moving. So the childminder should be able to accompany the child. So now you question two things there. One, at per shift, for instance, how many people are looking after children? For instance, if one childminder goes, then it means also that someone else should be looking at the rest of the children that are left behind.
Indeed, they need to have backup.
Also, secondly, the main important part, what sort of training do these childminders go through? Or what sort of screening process that goes behind before you take someone and make them a childminder at that particular restaurant or whatever place? What sort of child safeguarding policies do any particular restaurant or institution has on those particular issues and stuff? Do they have them in place, for instance? So you look at those other issues as well.
Dr. Omar, Sibusiso is bringing up a very important point, a point that we've spoken about before, where earlier this year we had the terrible case at a school where children were abused by somebody who was in the employ of the school, only for them to be abused again by a law enforcement officer who was investigating their case. The vetting of these people that are allowed to deal with children, whether in a vulnerable situation or not, is really of the utmost importance, isn't it?
Indeed. It's so critical, it's so vital that it be done correctly. Getting police clearance is a joke. It's laughable. Anybody can get police clearance. And if you're haven't been convicted for any offense, you're not even going to appear on that register, not on the child protection register, not on the sex offender register. So vetting requires more stringent processes. It requires psychometric testing, etc. Giving such a huge responsible task to a childminder would require, of course, more rigorous testing, rigorous profiling to ensure that that person would be suitable to work with children.
We're going to leave it there for now. We're going to go for a break. We're in discussion with the Teddy Bear Children's Clinic Director, Dr. Shaheda Omar, and Sibusiso Kasa from Save the Children South Africa. Do stay with us. We'll continue the conversation after this.